Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how to create a new application completely from scratch. So let's say this is a standard Maximo application and we do not have the operation log capability, and we need to create a simple application to allow our operator to create a log entries and enter all of the details notes during the day, for example. Then what we can do is we can create a new app from scratch. So what we have to do next is first we will open the database configuration to add two new entries. The first is a main object for a log entry that we can create each day, and then we can add a child table to display all of the detailed logs that is recorded during the day. So first I'm going to open the database configuration, and now I'm gonna create a new object first. So let's call it cost log. Alright, so I'm gonna call it daily log entry. Now down here I'm gonna click on this checkbox, call it a main object. By doing this, then it will enable us to doing writing new workflow, for example, or setting escalation for the main object. So this will be a record, a main object, a main entity in our system. So now I'm gonna click on save. So after we created a new object here, if we open the attributes, we can see that Maximo already created some basic attributes for me already. So let's say I'm gonna add a few more attributes. I'm gonna add a log time, for example, log time field. Okay, and I'm gonna set a default value for this field is the current system date and time when I enter a new record. I don't know why I cannot enter system date here. Alright, so I will leave it a bit later. I'm gonna actually probably I know why, because I haven't selected the data type yet. So I'm gonna do that again. I'm gonna enter system date. Okay, now it works. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna add another field for the name of the person who enters the log. So I'm gonna call it here is maybe log by person who creates the log. Alright, so I'm gonna call it text field. I'm gonna log by, and in this case, first of all, down below here, I'm gonna say this field is similar or originate from the person table, and it linked to the person ID field. So by doing this, then I have tell Maximo that this field is the same as this field in this table, and every time I make a change to this field, then it will also make change to this field as well. I mean, by make change we mean is it changing the data type and length of the field, for example. Right, so after I've done that, then you can see here it changed the data type to upper and the length to 30. And now what I can do here, I can set a default value for this one as well, to a person ID. So in this case, when I create a new row, then Maximo will add the ID of the current login user to the record as well. Okay, so I have created the first parent table. Now I'm gonna create the child table that contain all of the detailed log entries as well. So I'm gonna create a new one. I'm gonna call it cost log line, and line of a log entry, and gonna leave its default here, and I'm gonna go in here. And first of all, I need to save first, so it will add the default fields to this table. All right, so because this is a parent-child relationship, so what I need to do is I need to create a new field to act as a foreign key to point to the parent table. So that's what I'm gonna do next. I'm gonna add a new field, and I'm gonna call it cost log ID, which is the ID of the parent table. And in this case, I'm gonna set it a bit in number. Okay. And probably that's it. I will list it by default to make it simple. And now the next step for me is to create a new relationship to point to the parent table, and from the parent table pointing to this table as well. So that is generally a standard step when we define two related table. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna create a new relationship pointing to the parent table. In this case, I'm gonna call it cost log. Yeah, and cost log ID equal cost log ID. Okay, I'm not gonna write any remark here, just to make it quick. And now I'm going to open the parent table as well to create a relationship to point to the child table here. So I'm gonna open the table, and now in the relationship we can see that it is now this parent table is open here. I'm gonna add a new relationship, and I'm gonna add cost log line. I'm gonna do the same cost log line, and I'm gonna use the same relationship or the same where clause. So I'm gonna call it cost log ID equal cost log ID, and turn on child record of this main log record. Okay. All right. So now what I'm have to do next is to apply the change. So Maximo will create these two new tables. Okay. Now in this case, I will just wait for it to run. Okay, it's completed now. All right, so I've got the two tables that I have created. So now let's create a new application from scratch. So now I'm going to open Application Designer, and then I'm gonna create a new application. And in this case, I'm gonna call it a operator logs. Actually, I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't. Yeah, because it's a key. So in this case, I'm gonna call it operator logs, and I'm gonna call it main object is a custom log object that we have, and the key should be custom log ID. In this case, I'm gonna make it simple by using the same ID key that default ID key that Maximo created for me. But later on, if we in a real application, normally we will want to generate our own key for the application, but that's okay. Now I'm gonna put it into the asset module as well. So because I want to access it from this similar to the asset, and I'm gonna make it a power app. So a single app is where you display everything on one page, and a power app is where we have a list page and some other page to display like main data from the main table, and some additional tabs as well. So in this case, I'm gonna create a new Power App. All right. So now we have two screens here. First is the list screen and second is the main screen. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna quickly add some columns to this list screen. I'm gonna add a table column here. I'm gonna drag it here. And now we got the log ID because we have two logs ID here. So I'm gonna just delete one of them. I'm gonna leave the description. Probably I want to change the label a little bit to make it look nice. So I'm gonna call it ID. I want to call it ID. Okay. Yep. And now from here, I'm gonna add the log time field. And in here, I'm gonna add the log by field column. Okay, so again from this list screen, what I did is I added two columns, so it will allow me to search for a log by using these columns. And now going back to our main screen, if we have the basic information here already, so I'm not gonna change anything. Probably I will delete this one. Okay, I'm gonna delete this one to make it simple. All right, I'm gonna save the change. Now what I'm gonna do is I will add another table to display the child object. So I'm gonna right click on it, and for the relationship, I'm gonna call it a course log line. So this will use this relationship to know where to look at to get the data. And down below here, I'm gonna add some few columns. So in this case, I don't have much information, but I will just do a very quick setup to make it look nice. So I'm gonna click to go detail step for select details. Okay, in this case, I'm gonna delete row, and I'm gonna add row for delete, and I'm gonna display an icon. Okay, and now for this field, I'm going to display a description, and that's it. And well, now just delete because I make it very simple here. All right, and now probably down here I'm gonna drag a section. This is a new section. I'm gonna drag a button group for the table, and for the new button I'm gonna change it to a new row for the label, and for the event I'm gonna set it at row. So basically this is a standard event we already got with Maximo framework. So if we click on this button, it will add a new row to the table. So I'm gonna click on save here and quickly see if it works. Actually, I should add some new information here as well. So basically what I can do is I can add the foreign key column here. So I'm gonna call it put log ID, and in here I'm gonna call it description. There is a small problem with Maximo application design here. So in this case we just added a new table and we added the field, so it will show an invalid binding here, but that's okay. I'm gonna save it, and if let's check if it works by quickly open that again. And now I'm going back to the application designer, and I'm gonna search for the application. So this is the application that we have created earlier, and now let's quickly open it. if we open it again, you can see that it displays a field here. So the invalid binding is no longer there. So it means we have correctly linked those to the child table and display this field. So that's okay now. Because we have added this new application, so what Maximo does in the background is added a new menu for it, a new menu entry for it. So it should be added to this module, but this change to the system like that usually require a Maximo restart. So what I gonna do is I'm gonna quickly sign out and sign in again to see if it can be displayed. If it's not, then oh yeah, it display here, so that's great. So now we can click on this and then we can click on new row. And because this is a standard Maximo ID field, it will have a auto-populated ID here, so I don't have to enter anything. I can write some text here. So let's call it my first log entry. And I can write some long description as well. So this is a basic functionality of Maximo. So my long description. And remember earlier we have set up for this two field to have default value, so it automatically populates the date and time and the name of the current login user, which is Max admin here. So that's great. I can change it as well. Right, so when I save it, I got one record. And now when I click a new row, we can add the detail entry as well. So my first log detail line. But now if we click on save here, then this record will disappear. Why? Because this record, it doesn't have a value in this foreign key to tell Maximo that this belong or this link with this parent record. So let me quickly demonstrate that by click on save. So you can see it doesn't display anymore, even though that entry is actually stored in the database. It just doesn't display here because it is not linked to the parent object. But if I click on new row here and set the number 1 here, which means Maximo will now understand that this record is a child of this record because it has the same ID. So now if I'm gonna say my first detail log line and click on save, it would work. So in order for us to make it easy to the user, by every time they click on the new row, the number will be automatically populated here. Then what we can do is we can quickly use the default value control in application designer. So that's what I'm gonna do next. I'm gonna open the log application and now going to the main tab, and let's quickly add this new control. Let's call it a default value control. Drag it here. And now if we right click on it, so this default value will set a default value to this custom log ID field. So I'm gonna copy the ID, going back to the default value control here. I'm gonna set it here, which means this default value will be written to this field. And the source data, we can set any text value or number value here, which means every time we create a new row, for example, it will write this value to the field. But in this case, I want to write value to this field from the data from the parent record. So what I will do is I will write in, so I will do it, what is it, okay, so list here, which is the source data source ID of the main record. And in here I'm gonna set the same field course log ID, which is the course log ID field of the parent record. And in here I'm gonna set insert, which means every time I click on new row, then it will do this default action to set default value for this log field. And now let's save it and quickly test to see if it works. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to our asset. Sorry, I should have opened our operator logs application. And now let's quickly add a new one. Now I'll call it my second log. I will click on save and click on new row, and so it got a log ID number here. I don't know why it is so number 1, or probably because in the list view it's so number 1, but that's okay. Now I'm gonna write something. My first entry. So in this case, what I did is I did it wrong. Okay, so let's do something else. Let's okay, now let's go back to our application designer and try something else. Log. Okay, now I'm going to, in order to display the default control, it is a hidden control. So in order to display it, what we have to do is click on select action here and choose toggle show all controls. Okay, and now the default value should be displayed, and I can right click on it and I can change. In this case, probably I will choose main record. Okay, now let's go back to our asset application, or sorry, operator logs application, and try again. So let's open this one, click on, yep, so it works now. And if we try to save it, yep, it should works. And now if we add a new log entry, hello third entry, okay, and then we click on new row, we got our number 3 here. So we can say first line of third entry, click on new row again, second line of third entry, and now click on save. Yep, so that's how we created a new application from scratch by defining new tables and using relationship and setting a default value to set a foreign key for the child record in Maximo.